What happens when you ask your husband for space, only to get divorce papers instead? How did a simple request for freedom end with my reputation ruined and a courier handing me legal documents at my own door? This is how my demand to see other men backfired in ways I never expected. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. The apartment felt suffocating that Tuesday evening. I sat on our worn beige couch, watching Russell organize receipts at the kitchen table like he did every night. Same routine, same boring precision. At 32, I felt like I was drowning in predictability. "Russell, we need to talk," I said, muting the television. He looked up from his calculator, adjusting his glasses. "What's wrong, Philo?" "Nothing's wrong exactly. It's just—" I took a breath, choosing my words carefully. "I think I need some space. Time to work on myself, you know. Maybe explore who I am outside of this marriage." Russell's pen stopped moving. "What do you mean by space?" "I mean freedom to meet new people, experience life. I feel trapped here, doing the same things every day. I'm only 32, Russell. I deserve to feel alive." His face went pale. "Are you saying you want to see other people?" "I'm saying I want options. I want to remember what it feels like to be desired, to have conversations that don't revolve around grocery lists and Lila's school schedule. Philo, we have a daughter, we have a life together. If you're unhappy, we can work on it. We can go to counseling." I rolled my eyes. "See? This is exactly what I'm talking about. You immediately want to control the situation, fix it your way. You can't just accept that maybe I need something different." "I'm not trying to control you. I'm trying to understand why my wife suddenly wants to date other men." "It's not about dating other men specifically. It's about having the freedom to explore my options, without you monitoring my every move like some paranoid husband." Russell stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. "Paranoid? Philo, you're asking me to be okay with you cheating. It's not cheating if we both agree to it. It's called being modern, Russell. Some couples have open marriages. I never agreed to an open marriage. Because you're too insecure to handle it. You want to keep me locked up here forever, playing house while you count receipts and clip coupons." Russell stared at me for a long moment. "Is there someone specific you want to see?" "No," I lied smoothly. "This isn't about anyone else. It's about me needing space to grow as a person." From the hallway, I heard Lila's bedroom door creak. Our 7-year-old daughter appeared in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. "Why are you fighting?" she asked quietly. "We're not fighting, sweetheart," I said quickly. "Mommy and Daddy are just talking. Go back to bed." Russell walked over and picked up Lila. "Come on, princess, I'll tuck you in." As he carried her away, I heard him whisper, "Everything's going to be okay." But I knew it wasn't. I'd already been texting Julian Mercer from my marketing department for 3 weeks. He was everything Russell wasn't: spontaneous, exciting, dangerous. He made me feel like a woman instead of just a mother and wife. I pulled out my phone and typed, "Had the conversation. It's complicated, but we're working through it." Julian's response came immediately. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow. I've been thinking about you all day." I smiled, feeling that familiar flutter in my stomach. This was what I'd been missing: the thrill of being wanted, the excitement of the unknown. I glanced toward Lila's room, where Russell was probably reading her a bedtime story in that patient, gentle voice he used with her. Part of me felt guilty, but I pushed it down. I deserved happiness too. I deserved to feel alive. When Russell returned to the living room, his expression was unreadable. "So what happens now?" he asked. "Now we figure out how to make this work for both of us. I'm not asking for a divorce, Russell. I'm asking for understanding." He nodded slowly, but I could see the hurt in his eyes. "I need time to think about this." "That's all I'm asking for. Just think about it." As I headed to our bedroom, I felt my phone buzz again. Another message from Julian. I glanced back at Russell, who had returned to his receipts, but his hands were shaking slightly. I slipped into the bathroom and read Julian's message. I booked us a table at that cafe on 5th Street. Tomorrow at 6. Perfect, I typed back. I can't wait. Looking at myself in the bathroom mirror, I felt a surge of excitement. Tomorrow would be the beginning of my new life. A life where I wasn't just Russell's wife or Lila's mother, but Philomene Vane, a woman with her own desires and choices. I had no idea that Russell had seen my phone light up as I walked away, or that he was already starting to piece together the real reason behind my sudden need for space. The next evening, I sat across from Julian at the trendy cafe on 5th Street, feeling more alive than I had in years. He was telling me about his latest marketing campaign, his hands moving expressively as he spoke. Everything about him was dynamic. His laugh, his smile, the way he leaned forward when he talked to me. "You look beautiful tonight, Philo," he said, reaching across the table to touch my hand. "That color brings out your eyes." I blushed, something I hadn't done in years with Russell. "Thank you. I needed to hear that." "Russell doesn't tell you you're beautiful." "Russell tells me I look nice when I dress up for church. There's a difference." Julian laughed. "Nice? That's what you tell your grandmother about her casserole. You're stunning, Philo. Any man who can't see that is blind." We talked for 2 hours about everything. Books, movies, dreams we'd given up. Julian listened to me in a way Russell never did, asking follow-up questions, remembering details from previous conversations. "I should probably head home," I said reluctantly, checking my watch. "Russell will wonder where I am." "Tell him you were working late, office happy hour or something." As Julian walked me to my car, he pulled me close and kissed me. It was soft at first, then more urgent. I felt like a teenager again, my heart racing with the thrill of doing something forbidden. "I'll text you tomorrow," he whispered against my ear. Driving home, I practiced my story. I'd tell Russell I had to work late on a difficult customer complaint, then grabbed coffee with a colleague to decompress. Simple, believable. But when I walked into our apartment, Russell was sitting at the kitchen table, with his laptop open, looking troubled. "How was work?" he asked without looking up. "Exhausting. We had this nightmare customer who kept escalating their complaint. Sarah and I had to stay late to sort it out, then we grabbed coffee to decompress. You know how it is." Russell nodded, still focused on his screen. "Sarah from your department?" "Yeah, Sarah Martinez. She's new. You haven't met her yet." "That's nice that you have someone to talk to at work." I felt a pang of guilt at how easily the lies came. "How was Lila tonight?" "She asked where you were. I told her you were working hard to help people." "I was helping people," I said defensively. "That's literally my job." Russell finally looked at me. "I know. I'm not accusing you of anything, Philo. I'm just tired." That night, as Russell slept beside me, I replayed every moment with Julian. The way he looked at me, the things he said, the kiss that made me feel desired again. This was what I'd been missing. Passion, excitement, the feeling that someone couldn't wait to see me again. The next morning, I was getting ready for work when my phone buzzed with a text from my sister-in-law, Tessa. "Girl, Derek's friend Mike saw you at that cafe on 5th Street last night. He said you were with some guy who definitely wasn't Russell. What's going on?" My stomach dropped. Mike Henderson. I'd seen him across the cafe, but hoped he hadn't noticed me. I called Tessa immediately. "It's not what it looks like. I was having coffee with a colleague after a difficult day at work, that's all." "A colleague? Mike said you two looked pretty cozy." "Mike needs to mind his own business. I'm allowed to have male friends, Tessa. Just because I'm married doesn't mean I can't talk to other men." "I'm not judging you, Philo. I'm just saying be careful. You know how people talk in this town." "Let them talk. I haven't done anything wrong." But even as I said it, I knew I was walking a dangerous line. At work that day, I couldn't concentrate. Every time my phone buzzed, I hoped it was Julian, and every time it was just a work email or spam, I felt disappointed. Finally, around lunch, he texted, Can't stop thinking about last night. When can I see you again? I smiled, typing back, soon, this weekend maybe. I'll count the hours. When I got home that evening, Russell was helping Lila with her homework at the kitchen table. Daddy, why was Mummy out so late yesterday? Lila asked innocently. Mummy was working, Princess. Sometimes grown-ups have to work late. But Mummy's never worked late before. Russell looked at me over Lila's head. People's jobs change sometimes, Lila. Mummy's helping more people now. I felt another stab of guilt, but pushed it away. I wasn't hurting anyone. I was just finally taking care of my own needs for once. Later that night, as Russell was checking his email, I noticed him looking at something intently on his screen. What are you reading? I asked. Just work stuff, budget reports. But when I walked behind him to get a glass of water, I caught a glimpse of his screen. He was looking at our cell phone bill, scrolling through call logs and text message timestamps. My blood ran cold, but I kept my voice casual. Exciting reading. Just making sure we're not going over our data limit. Right. Well, I'm going to take a shower. In the bathroom, I quickly deleted my text conversation with Julian and changed his contact name to Sarah Martinez Work. If Russell was checking phone records, I needed to be more careful. But as I stood under the hot water, I realized Russell's suspicions were growing. The man I'd married was methodical and patient, but he wasn't stupid. If he was already checking phone bills, how long before he discovered the truth? I decided I needed to be smarter about this. Julian made me feel alive in a way I hadn't felt in years, and I wasn't ready to give that up. But I also wasn't ready to lose my family. I just had to be more careful. The following weekend, Russell's mother Cora invited us for Sunday dinner at the family home. I dreaded these gatherings. Cora had never liked me, always making subtle comments about my parenting or housekeeping. But Russell insisted we maintain family traditions, especially for Lila's sake. My mother, Lucille, was also there, which meant the evening would inevitably become a passive-aggressive battlefield between the two grandmothers. Philomene, you look tired, Cora said as she served pot roast. Are you getting enough sleep? I'm fine, Cora, just busy with work. That's wonderful that you're so dedicated to your career, my mother interjected. A woman should have her own interests outside the home. Russell's father, David, tried to change the subject. How's school going, Lila? Good, Grandpa, but Mummy's been working a lot lately. She comes home late and talks on her phone. I felt everyone's eyes on me. I've been helping some colleagues adjust to new procedures. It's temporary. Russell cut his meat methodically. Philo's always been good at helping people. There was something in his tone that made me defensive. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, just that you're generous with your time. Cora raised an eyebrow. It's important for mothers to prioritize their families, especially when children are young. I do prioritize my family, I snapped, but I also have a right to professional growth and adult friendships. Of course you do, dear, my mother said. Russell, you support Philomene's career ambitions, don't you? Russell looked up from his plate. I support whatever makes Philo happy. Even if it means working late several nights a week, Cora asked pointedly. I haven't been working late several nights a week, I protested. 3 times this week, Russell said quietly. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. The table fell silent. I felt cornered, attacked by Russell's family, while my own mother sat there looking uncomfortable. I'm sorry that my job requires actual effort, I said, my voice rising. I'm sorry that I can't just sit at home all day arranging flowers and gossiping with neighbors. Philomene, my mother gasped. What? I'm tired of being criticized for having a life outside this house. Russell works late all the time during tax season, but nobody questions his dedication to the family. That's different, Cora said coldly. Russell's work actually supports this family. My work supports this family too, and more importantly, it supports me as a person. I'm not just a wife and mother, I'm an individual with my own needs and desires. Russell set down his fork, What kind of needs and desires? The question hung in the air like a challenge. I looked around the table, Cora's disapproving frown, my mother's worried expression, Lila's confused face, Russell's steady gaze. The need to feel valued, the need to have conversations with people who see me as more than just someone who packs lunches and does laundry. The need to feel attractive and interesting and alive. Don't we make you feel those things? Russell asked. I laughed bitterly. When? When you're buried in spreadsheets every night? When your mother criticizes everything I do? When our most exciting conversation is about grocery lists? Maybe if you put more effort into your marriage instead of your mysterious work friends, you'd feel differently, Cora suggested. Maybe if people in this family appreciated what I bring to it, instead of constantly judging me, I wouldn't need to find appreciation elsewhere. The words were out before I could stop them. Russell went very still. What do you mean by elsewhere? He asked. I backpedaled quickly. I mean at work, with colleagues who actually listen to me and value my opinions. But the damage was done. I could see it in Russell's eyes, the pieces clicking together, the timeline forming in his methodical mind. Lila started crying. Why is everyone fighting? David picked her up. Come on, sweetheart. Let's go look at Grandpa's garden. After they left, the adults sat in uncomfortable silence. Philomene, my mother said carefully, maybe you and Russell should talk privately about whatever's bothering you. Nothing's bothering me except being treated like a criminal for having a social life. Is that what you call it? Cora asked. A social life? What else would I call it? Russell stood up abruptly. I need some air. He walked out to the back porch, leaving me alone with the two mothers. Honey, my mother said gently, are you having an affair? Of course not. I can't believe you'd even ask that. But Cora was studying me with shrewd eyes. Russell's a good man, Philomene. He loves you and Lila more than anything in this world. If you're doing something to jeopardize that... I'm not jeopardizing anything. I'm trying to save myself from disappearing completely into this suffocating life. Marriage requires sacrifice, Cora said, from both partners. What has Russell sacrificed? His career is flourishing. He has the respect of his family. He gets to be the responsible one while I'm painted as the selfish wife who wants too much. Maybe you do want too much, Cora said bluntly. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. I want what every person deserves, to feel valued and desired and alive. If that's too much to ask, then maybe I married the wrong man. The words echoed in the dining room like a slap. My mother looked horrified. Cora's face went white with anger. How dare you, Cora whispered. How dare you sit at my table and insult my son after everything he's done for you? I'm not insulting Russell. I'm being honest about our problems. Your problems. Russell isn't the one sneaking around and lying about working late. My heart stopped. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the fact that my son is heartbroken and you're too selfish to see it. I'm talking about the fact that you're destroying your family for some fantasy about being single again. I never said I wanted to be single. You didn't have to say it. It's written all over your face every time someone mentions commitment or family responsibility. Russell appeared in the doorway. We should go. Russell, We should go, he repeated firmly. Lila needs to get home for school tomorrow. The car ride home was silent except for Lila's chatter about Grandpa's garden. Russell stared straight ahead, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. When we got home, he went straight to his laptop while I helped Lila get ready for bed. Mummy, are you and Daddy getting divorced? She asked as I tucked her in. Why would you ask that? Because Tommy's parents fought like that before they got divorced. And now Tommy only sees his daddy on weekends. My heart broke a little. Daddy and I are just working through some grown-up problems, sweetheart. We both love you very much. But do you love each other? I hesitated too long. Lila's eyes filled with tears. Everything's going to be okay, I said, kissing her forehead. I promise. But as I turned off her light, I wondered if that was another lie I was telling. In the living room, Russell was printing something from his laptop. I saw pages of phone records, bank statements, and what looked like a calendar. "What are you doing?" He looked up at me with eyes I'd never seen before. Cold, calculating, hurt. "Research," he said simply. "Research for what?" "For understanding what my wife has been doing with her newfound freedom." I felt the walls closing in, but I forced myself to stay calm. "Russell, if you have something to ask me, just ask." "I did ask. At dinner, and you made it very clear that you're getting what you need elsewhere." "I was talking about work friends. You're being paranoid." "Am I?" He held up a printed page. "Because according to our phone records, you've been texting someone named Sarah Martinez 47 times in the past 2 weeks. Always late at night, always when I'm asleep or out of the room." My mouth went dry. I'd forgotten that even changing the contact name wouldn't hide the number on the phone bill. "Sarah's going through a difficult time. She needed someone to talk to." "What kind of difficult time requires texting at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday or 1 a.m. on a Friday?" "Personal problems. I can't betray her confidence." Russell nodded slowly. "Of course, your loyalty to Sarah Martinez is more important than honesty with your husband." "That's not fair." "Fair?" Russell's voice rose slightly. "You want to talk about fair, Philomene? Is it fair that I lie awake wondering what I did wrong? Is it fair that our daughter asks me why Mommy doesn't want to be home anymore? Is it fair that I have to find out from my own phone records that my wife is living a secret life?" I wanted to tell him the truth, to explain about Julian and how alive he made me feel. But looking at Russell's face, the hurt, the betrayal, the growing suspicion, I knew the truth would destroy everything. "I'm not living a secret life. I'm just trying to have some independence." "Independence." Russell repeated the word like it tasted bitter. "Is that what you call it?" Before I could answer, there was a knock at our door. Russell frowned, checking his watch. "It's almost 9 p.m. Who would be here this late?" He opened the door to find a courier holding a large envelope. "Delivery for Philomene Vane?" Russell looked back at me, his expression unreadable. "Philo, there's someone here for you." I signed for the envelope with shaking hands, my mind racing. Who would send me legal documents at this hour? The courier left, and I stood in our living room holding the thick packet, afraid to open it. "Aren't you going to see what it is?" Russell asked. With trembling fingers, I tore open the envelope and pulled out the papers inside. Divorce petition, custody agreement, asset division. All neatly typed and official, with Russell's signature already on every page. I looked up at my husband, my soon-to-be ex-husband, and saw that the man I'd married was gone. In his place stood someone I didn't recognize, someone who'd been planning this moment while I thought I was being clever. "Russell, what is this?" "It's your freedom, Philomene. Exactly what you asked for." The law office smelled like leather and disappointment. I sat across from Russell and his attorney, a sharp-eyed woman named Margaret Chen, who had laid out my entire life in neat piles of evidence. "Mrs. Vane," Margaret began, "we're here today to discuss the terms of dissolution for your marriage to Russell Vane, as well as custody arrangements for your daughter, Leela." My hand shook as I looked at the documents spread across the conference table. Phone records highlighted in yellow. Bank statements showing charges at restaurants I'd never taken Russell to. Screenshots of text messages I thought I'd deleted. "How did you get all this?" I whispered. Russell spoke for the first time since we'd sat down. "You left your phone unlocked last Tuesday night. While you were showering, I recovered your deleted messages." "That's illegal. That's invasion of privacy." Margaret slid a paper across the table. "Actually, Mrs. Vane, in this state, spouses have legal access to shared phone accounts and financial records. Everything we've compiled was obtained legally." I stared at the evidence of my affair laid out like an autopsy. Messages to Julian that I thought were gone forever. Photos he'd sent me. Plans we'd made. The entire timeline of my betrayal, documented and organized with Russell's typical methodical precision. "Russell, please, we can work this out. We can go to counseling. Like you suggested when you asked for space to see other men." His voice was calm, but I could see the hurt in his eyes. "Or like you suggested when you lied about working late, or when you introduced your lover as your female co-worker." Margaret opened another folder. "Mrs. Vane, are you familiar with Julian Mercer?" My stomach dropped. "How do you—" "Mr. Mercer was very cooperative when we contacted him. He seemed surprised to learn that you'd told your husband he was a woman named Sarah Martinez." The room spun slightly. "You contacted Julian." "We wanted to verify the timeline of your relationship," Margaret explained. "Mr. Mercer confirmed that you've been seeing each other for approximately 6 weeks, and that you told him your marriage was essentially over." "I never said that." Russell pulled out his phone and played a recording. My voice filled the room, clear and unmistakable. "Russell and I are basically roommates at this point. We're just staying together for Lila, but emotionally, we've been done for months." I remembered saying those words to Julian last week, but I'd never imagined Russell would hear them. "Where did you get that recording?" "Julian recorded it," Russell said quietly. "He wanted to make sure he wasn't breaking up a happy marriage. Apparently, he has more integrity than my wife." Margaret spread out more documents. "Based on the evidence we've compiled, Mr. Vane is requesting full custody of Lila, with supervised visitation for you." "Supervised visitation? She's my daughter." "A daughter you've been neglecting while pursuing an extramarital affair," Margaret replied. "A daughter who's been asking her father why Mommy doesn't want to be home anymore. A daughter who started having nightmares about her parents getting divorced." "How could you possibly know about her nightmares?" Russell's voice was barely above a whisper. "Because she tells me everything, Philo. While you were texting Julian, she was crying herself to sleep. While you were planning your next lie, she was asking me if Mommy still loved her." The words hit me like physical blows. "Of course I love her. I love both of you." "You have a strange way of showing it," Margaret continued as if we hadn't spoken. "Mr. Vane is also requesting that you vacate the family home within 30 days. He'll continue making mortgage payments, but the residence will remain with the primary custodial parent." "You're kicking me out of my own home?" "It's not your home," Russell said. "It's in my name. The down payment came from my savings. The mortgage payments come from my account. You wanted independence, Philomene. This is what independence looks like." I looked at the man I'd married, searching for any trace of the gentle, patient person I'd fallen in love with. But that man was gone, replaced by someone cold and calculating. "What about spousal support?" Margaret smiled thinly. "Given your employment and the circumstances of the marriage dissolution, Mr. Vane has no obligation to provide spousal support. In fact, given the financial impact of your affair, restaurant bills, gifts, hotel charges, he could potentially seek reimbursement." "Hotel charges?" Russell slid another paper across the table. Credit card statements showing charges at the downtown Marriott. Dates and times that corresponded exactly with my supposed late work nights. "Julian was more thorough in his documentation than you realized," Margaret explained. "He kept receipts for everything, apparently for tax purposes. When we explained the situation, he provided copies. I felt like I was drowning." "Julian gave you our hotel receipts?" Mr. Mercer was quite apologetic about the whole situation. He said if he'd known you were lying about your marriage being over, he never would have gotten involved. He seemed particularly upset about the impact on your daughter. He doesn't even know Lila. He knows about her. You told him she was adjusting well to the idea of divorce, and that she'd already met him and liked him. Another lie I'd forgotten about. I'd told Julian that Russell and I had already separated, and that Lila was excited about Mommy's new friend. It had seemed harmless at the time, just a way to make Julian feel better about our relationship. "Mrs. Vane," Margaret said, "do you have legal representation?" No, I didn't know this was happening. You have the right to obtain counsel before signing these documents." I looked at the papers again. Divorce decree, custody agreement, asset division. Everything I'd built over 10 years of marriage reduced to legal terminology and dollar amounts. What if I contest this? That's your right, Margaret replied. However, given the evidence we have, and Mr. Mercer's willingness to testify about the nature of your relationship, I'd advise against it. A contested divorce would be expensive, time-consuming, and ultimately unsuccessful. It would also become public record, which might affect your employment. My employment? Russell spoke up. Your company has a morality clause in their employee handbook, Philo. Adultery that affects workplace relationships can be grounds for termination. Julian and I work in different departments. Julian worked in different departments. He requested a transfer last week. Apparently, the situation became too complicated for him to handle. The hits kept coming. Not only was I losing my husband and daughter, but Julian had abandoned me too. The man who'd made me feel so alive, so desired, had disappeared the moment things got difficult. I need time to think about this. Of course, Margaret said. However, I should mention that Mr. Vane has filed for an expedited divorce based on adultery. If you don't respond within 10 days, the court will proceed without your input. 10 days? 10 business days from the date you were served, which was yesterday. I remembered the courier, the thick envelope, Russell's calm expression as I opened it. He'd been planning this for weeks, maybe months, while I thought I was being clever and secretive. Russell, please, we can fix this. I made a mistake, but we can work through it. He looked at me with eyes that held no warmth, no forgiveness, no trace of the love that had once been there. You didn't make a mistake, Philomene. You made a choice. Every lie, every secret meeting, every time you chose Julian over our family, those were choices. This is just the consequence. Margaret gathered her papers. Mrs. Vane, I'll need your decision by Friday. If you choose to contest, you'll need to file a response with the court and obtain legal representation. If you choose to accept the terms, we can finalize everything next week. I sat in the conference room after they left, staring at the evidence of my destroyed life. Phone records, hotel receipts, bank statements, text messages, all the proof Russell needed to show that his wife had chosen excitement over family, passion over stability, lies over love. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. How did the meeting go, honey? I'd told her it was a mediation session, a chance to work things out. I couldn't bear to tell her the truth, that her daughter had thrown away everything good in her life for a man who'd disappeared the moment things got complicated. I typed back, still talking. I'll call you later. But I knew there would be nothing to talk about. Russell had outmaneuvered me completely, using my own lies and betrayals to build an ironclad case for divorce. The man I'd underestimated, the boring accountant I'd grown tired of, had systematically documented my affair and planned my downfall with the same methodical precision he used for everything else. As I walked to my car, I realized that my request for space had given Russell exactly what he needed: time to gather evidence, consult lawyers, and plan his exit strategy. While I was busy feeling alive and desired with Julian, my husband was quietly building the case that would cost me everything. I'd asked for space to see other men. Instead, Russell had given me a permanent goodbye. The irony wasn't lost on me. In trying to find myself, I'd lost everything that mattered. In seeking passion and excitement, I'd destroyed the steady, reliable love that had been there all along. I signed the papers the next day. There was no point in fighting a battle I'd already lost through my own choices. Russell got the house, primary custody of Lila, and his freedom from a wife who'd never appreciated what she had until it was gone. As for Julian, he'd moved to another city for a better opportunity, leaving behind nothing but hotel receipts and recorded conversations that had helped destroy my marriage. I moved into a small apartment across town, where I see Lila every other weekend under the watchful eye of a court-appointed supervisor. She's polite but distant, still processing why Mommy had to move away and why Daddy looks so sad all the time. Russell remarried 2 years later, a kind kindergarten teacher who adores Lila and treats her like her own daughter. I watched them from across the street during Lila's birthday party, seeing the family I'd thrown away for a few weeks of excitement with a man who'd never really cared about me at all. They looked happy, complete, like they'd healed from the damage I'd caused and built something better in its place. I'd asked for space to see other men, thinking I deserved more than the life I had. Instead, I learned that sometimes what we think we deserve and what we actually deserve are two very different things. Russell had given me exactly what I'd asked for: permanent space from the family I'd taken for granted. And in doing so, he'd taught me the most painful lesson of my life, that some mistakes can't be undone and some choices can't be taken back.